Everybody, welcome to Forex Trading Analysis for Synergy FX. It's almost 10:30 p.m. on Sunday the 8th, and today we're going to be looking at a couple pairs, but quick risk disclaimer before we get started. Foreign exchange trading carries a high level of risk. Before you decide to trade foreign exchange, we encourage you to consider your investment objectives, your risk tolerance, and trading experience. It is possible to lose some or all of your initial investment, so don't invest money you can't afford to lose. Seek advice from an independent financial or tax advisor, and all information provided is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as trading advice or counsel. So I want to take a quick look at the news before we do get started. Today, actually, we had some current account news from the yen and Chinese currency. Also, the CPI came out today, and they're both lower than expected, but we didn't see too many big gaps from either of these pairs. So tomorrow we have Draghi speaking, sorry, and BOC Business Outlook survey. So Euro and Canada are going to have some pretty interesting setups for tomorrow. The Euro kind of had big news with U.S. non-farms the other day, but we could see some, if Draghi does say something interesting, which I doubt that he will tomorrow. He'll usually say the typical ECB type of crap, really. I think that we shouldn't see too much from the euro tomorrow. So one pair I do want to take a look at, just because we did have that news today, is the yen. And regardless of a bad number coming out of the Japanese sector, we really didn't see too much of a movement. A little bit of a move down here on Sunday after covering the gap to the upside. But this pair right now is really in an extremely tight range, which isn't usually something that the yen will consider to keep. The yen moves, and it will move pretty frequently. So the fact that the 200 and 100 are sloped are basically horizontal is telling me that this pair could have a significant breakout to the upside or the downside in the near future. I do think that the yen is headed further down than the lowest lows. I think it will go below 75, but it is possible you could see a continuation of this trend to the upside, a little bit of a trend to the upside if we do stay above the 200 hour or day moving average. This is going to be a huge level for us. Right now, the 200 day is posted at 79.36, so that is going to be a nice area of support to put any stops below. And if we do start to see a move below that, then I do think that stops again will continue to be blown, and we could see a trip further to the downside. But for now, we are purchased above the 200, so we'll be looking to the upside. And my first target will be the 100, obviously, and then possibly areas at around 81.6, and then obviously up to the top at around 83.75. So a couple areas to look at for rotation back to the upside if that does happen. But if we do start to break down again, I'll be looking towards possible Fibonacci retracements, which I'm not going to throw on right now, but possibly my guesses were around 50%, so probably the 60, 61, and obviously down to the lowest lows at around 76.14. So those are levels I'll be looking at for the yen. For the Swiss franc, currently the charts have shown a lot of upward momentum for the Swiss right now. I called that we would have a breakdown here, and we actually did continue to the upside. What that means for me is that the Swiss franc is even more extended to the upside, and I don't think that we will see any more push to the upside from the Swiss franc or the dollar, actually, for the dollar for the next couple of days. I think that while we have already started seeing a little bit of a breakdown, we could possibly see down to around 0.97415, close this far, 0.97418, and possibly even lower than that, around maybe even down to the consolidation phase here, which will act as a support. But for now, if you look at the daily charts, again, we have reached a new high, which usually means that some sellers do start to come into the market. And also, I didn't really mention this level before, at 0.97144 is going to be a big area of support here. Obviously, I'm sure every single person in the world will have that line drawn. So definitely some really good shorting opportunities from the Swiss franc, just based on the fact that we really have had absolutely nothing of a pullback. The largest pullback we had from the close down was around 15 pips. So really nothing to bat your eyes over, and we haven't really been able to see too much of a rotation back to the downside. So like I said, we have seen the beginnings of that, but I do think that this will continue just as a really short-term trade. If you watch my videos, I do say a lot that I do think that the U.S. dollar is in a push to the upside, and it has sort of started to show that a little bit. But I do think that this will continue largely into the future as the euro is selling off and people will be taking the money out of the stock market and the real estate market and putting it into pairs, especially such as the U.S. dollar Swiss franc and U.S. dollar Canadian dollar, and really any pair that they can see as a store of value, and especially for the U.S. dollar is a good store of value. So definitely the U.S. dollar I think is an entry for the upside, and if you do want to put in a longer term trade, then I definitely would be long the dollar. But for now, I do think we are a little bit extended to the upside, and a push to the downside is going to be inevitable eventually. So those are my views on the Swiss franc, and those are the two pairs I did want to take a look at today. The Aussie dollar is another pair that I do believe could see some interesting levels over the next couple weeks. RSI is currently printing at 44.55, so 43.62, and this bar hasn't closed yet, but once it does, around 43, so we could really see the direction, and we are perched just above the 200, so I was saying that possibly another trip to the upside. If the dollar does start to sell off, then the Aussie may continue its push to the upside for a nice little third wave pattern here. If it does, I wouldn't look too much further past the 200-day moving average, though, because this is going to be probably one of the smaller pushes if it does start to go to the upside, but I'm not really perched to speculate that on that right now. So thank you very much for watching, and good luck trading.